Well, good morning from Ralph's house. And now I'm not mixing up a batter mix. This is PVA glue and water. And it's like a 3-to-1 mix. A couple of parts of water to this. And I think I'll need to water it down a little bit more yet. But I'll explain why I need the PVA glue and what I've discovered. Well, if you remember, we were stripping wood chip paper in here in the last one. What a saga that was. Of course, as soon as you've done that, you then got to start sorting out snags. Well, for one thing, this it's dead, by the way. I've got to sort out this light switch in here because this particular conduit isn't going to take the amount of cables I need, so I've got to put a fatter one in there. So this has all got to be stripped out right up to the ceiling. You can see the line where it goes, more or less. Yeah, there. So that's all got to come out. So that'll have to come off. But what I discovered right next to this door was this gap. And I noticed it was covered in polyfiller. But when I flicked the polyfiller off, it was all stuffed in newspaper. I thought, well, what's that for? And then I realised, look, if we go down here, you see that cable? That's not an electric cable. That is to the radio aerial in the loft. And that's how my dad got it in. He cut himself a little channel down here and then sort of bodged it over afterwards. So literally I'm having to get all this stuff out, and then I shall have to plaster this gap properly with some decent bonding plaster. So hence the need for the PVA, because you can't just stick plaster in there on a trowel, it'll just fall off because the wall's dry, you see. So you just give it a coat of PVA. So I'm just going to flick all of that out. Well, I say flick, chisel it out, and brush some PVA down it. And as so often happens when I start raking things out, you end up with bigger chunks, but no matter. We'll just get this all soaked, and I shall just mix up enough to cover that chunk as well. Yeah, well, interesting way to put. I shan't take the cable out, I shall just leave it in there, but I shall just plaster it in properly. So I'll get some PVA down there, and then I'll mix up some plaster. Yeah, that's got enough bonding plaster in there. I'll just come over with a finishing plaster after. So, like I say, every time I fill these, you just got to keep them just below the surface. And also I've got to come down here now with a sponge and wipe off all the excess off the door frame. Try not to drag it through the plaster. And yeah, that's good enough. A little bit there. Yeah. Don't really want it on the woodwork because it's all well, dry like plaster. It does flick off, but you don't want to be messing with that. So that'll be alright, that'll be gone off by tomorrow. This is Sunday, by the way, so it's kind of like a light duties day. Just a few snags, you know, after we've got all this wood chip off. That old socket I've decided is coming out, and it'll be at the standard modern height of 140mm. The thinking behind all this, of course, is so that people with limited abilities don't have to stoop down. And that makes a lot of sense. Probably as I get older, I'm not going to want to stoop down there to plug in a plug. So, yeah, I shall bring these up to modern height. Just about everywhere, I think. For the extra bit of cable, what difference does it make? And I've got conduit, I can run it through, you know, this sort of stuff. Just to make a tidy job of, you know, run my cables up, that stuff. Set into the wall, plaster over it, nice neat job. And should I ever need to pull cables through again in the future, which is unlikely, or they want inspecting or checking or whatever, easy to get at, aren't they? Yeah. Fair sized gap down there. Not sure about that one. I don't think caulking is going to cover that completely, so I think I'll have to squeeze some plaster in there tomorrow as well, and finish off by caulking it. A couple of holes I found in the wall where there had been a radiator here, because it's been moved since into the window. Modern thinking, or at least my other half's thinking. So yeah, so just filled in some of those, put a bit of bonding plaster in, can polyfiller over those and get them nice and smooth. But you see that wedged under there? I was just trying to find where it was fixed to the wall, because that's got to come off. It's a devil really, this stuff, because It's not just a case of taking it off and then being able to paint the wall, because you've got to make do behind. And there tends to be a bit of a difference in level where one surface has been painted and one hasn't. So you end up with a ridge, which has all got to be filled in. I'll tell you, that is tedious, having done it in the last room. But we'll get it smooth, and then, you know, who knows, I might decide to put a rail in again later on, but at least it'll be a modern piece, you know. I'll get as near as I can to that style as I can if I'm going to reinstate them. But yeah, that's it. So light duties today, very short video, just to let you know that I'm still doing bits and not complacent. But at least that's filled in. Yeah, what a novel way to get a radio aerial, because the front room is below this, and my father was obsessed with radio, particularly Radio 3 and 4. And he liked a good signal, and I think in one of the earlier videos I showed you the huge radio aerial in the loft, which I'm not going to move. I think, well, I'll leave it well alone, may come in useful. It's not in my way, and neither's that cable. I've just properly plastered it in there, so the job's done. You'd never know it was there. It's tucked behind the frame, really. Also, at some point this week, I've got to address this bathroom, because it's not going to be much fun moving in if your bathroom looks like this. I don't know if you can see this, probably easier over this side. Look how thick those tiles are from the wall. It looks like the tiles have been put on that thick to suit the bath. Doesn't make a lot of sense. And the surface of this wall is it's absolutely atrocious. It's flaky. You see? So I'm going to get a plasterer to come in this week to come and have a look at it and see what he suggests. If he says take all the plaster off and I'll replaster it, then that's what we'll do. But it's pretty bad. I don't think you can, in all honesty, I don't think you're going to get a very good bond if you try and do a skim coat on it. So perhaps the best thing is to take it all off and start again. I have a feeling that's going to be the only way forward. I have got a certain amount of budget for that, I suppose, but yeah, it's going to have to be done. And so that means that's got to come out. It means that's got to come out, and almost certainly the bath is going to have to come out. So that's going to be real fun getting those tiles off, isn't it? I'd sort of planned to use that modern shower board right up to the ceiling, and it's nice and watertight. Have that on all three sides of the bath. I want to keep it very simple, really. I don't necessarily want anything flash in here, but as long as it's tidy and clean and quite usable. Something wants doing with the windowsill. I think a bit more than paint, maybe some UPVC, a cover over that to seal that so it's nice and clean. Window's pretty good though. Yeah, so that's it. That's a job for in the week, trying to suss out this bathroom. The other problem I've got is, well, the shower's not that old, and it works fine, though the plan is to have a bathroom downstairs, actually, in the longer term. One up, one down, why not? Then you're not fighting over it. But unlike most houses where you've got a pull cord, well, all we've got in here is this old pull cord, which is for the light, which is off at the moment because there's no power in here. And this, that's how you turn the shower on. Not ideal. So that needs to come out. It needs to be a thick enough cable, I don't know, 10 or 12, whatever. And it's got to come up. It's got to go in this corner. I've got to chisel out all the plaster all the way out there. It's got to come up to the top. It's got to go into the ceiling, into the bathroom, and then fix a proper 45 amp pull switch up there instead of that one external one there. That would operate the shower. But I'm not sure, but it might make more sense to have it this side of the door and just have the light switch that side. Yeah. And at some point I need to get all these doors stripped, the locks anyway, so I can free these locks off, because they all work. They're quite nice, aren't they? Little 1930s slide one, but it's so gummed up with paint it doesn't move anymore. And it'd be nice to have all the locks working so you don't have to have this kind of contraption. Yeah, so, you know, No reason why they shouldn't work. Good doors, good doors. Right, that's it from Ralph's house for Sunday. This is a light duties day, but I just thought I'd show you that even on Sunday I'm doing bits and pieces. Yeah, as best I can. Don't want to do too much, and I've got a busy morning tomorrow, so I won't be over at Ralph's house. But I should be here in the afternoon because despite the fact I'm not feeling too well, I need to finish all these cables now and get all these boards nailed down. So that's for the spots beneath. Although I won't fit the spots, I will run the cables under the floor, make small pinholes where they are, it's in the ceiling beneath. So when I come to cut the ceiling spots, I'll just put a circular saw from underneath, pull out the cable because there will not be enough slack on it, connect it, and that's it. That's done. I don't need to actually lift this floor to get at them again. That's kind of my plan with that. So thanks for watching. Leave a comment. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe.